Let's get started with our first story. Sean O'Malley could move up to featherweight. The idea of Sugar Sean O'Malley transitioning to the featherweight division has started to gain traction, especially after recent comments made by his longtime coach and friend Tim Welch. During a podcast appearance, Welch opened up about the potential move, particularly in light of Shawn's scheduled rematch against Merab Dvalishvili at UFC 316. According to Welch, if O'Malley loses that fight, a move up to 145 pounds might not just be a possibility, it could become a necessity. Welch revealed that Shawn's weight cuts to make the 135-pound bantamweight limit have grown increasingly difficult over time. O'Malley walks around at approximately 160 pounds and stands 5 feet 11 inches tall, making him one of the tallest and biggest bantamweights on the UFC roster. Cutting nearly 25 pounds for every fight is no small feat, and it's starting to take a toll. Shawn's a professional in every sense, Welch said. He records everything, every meal, every ounce of water, every weigh-in. He keeps track of his whole process in a journal, but even with all that discipline, the cuts are just getting harder. Welch went on to say that with about 6 to 7 months of focused training and the addition of just 3 to 5 pounds of muscle, O'Malley could comfortably compete with the featherweights. At 145 pounds, the weight cut would be far less taxing on his body, which could improve his endurance, recovery, and overall performance inside the octagon. When asked whether the idea of moving up has been seriously discussed, Welch didn't shy away from the truth. It's definitely possible, he said. There are still big fights for Shawn at bantamweight, but how long can you keep cutting like this? Eventually, it starts affecting your training, your health, and your performance. While O'Malley still has unfinished business at 135, especially if he manages to defeat Merab, many believe the writing is on the wall. The featherweight division boasts a lineup of high-profile fighters and exciting matchups, from potential brawls with guys like Max Holloway to stylistic showdowns against the likes of Ilia Topuria or Brian Ortega. The opportunities at 145 are just as compelling as those at bantamweight. For now, all eyes are on UFC 316. A win would likely solidify O'Malley's place at the top of the bantamweight division, while a loss might signal the beginning of a new chapter at featherweight. One thing is certain, Sean O'Malley has options, and whichever path he chooses, fans will be watching closely. Now on to our second story. Jon Jones fires back at Tom Aspinall and takes shots at Colby Covington. The tension between Jon Jones and Colby Covington is nothing new to MMA fans, but it seems like things are heating up once again. Over the years, Covington has made it a point to publicly criticize Jones whenever given the chance, bringing up everything from his personal life to his professional setbacks. Jones, on the other hand, has remained relatively silent until now. During a recent episode of the Deep Cut podcast hosted by Vic Blends, Jon was asked a simple but juicy question. Who do you think is the most overrated fighter in the UFC? Jones didn't drop a name, but he didn't have to. His answer made it crystal clear who he was referring to. I could say his name, but I won't, Jones replied, saying it gives him clout, which I don't want to do. His initials are CC, and he's a total douchebag. Anyone who watches the sport knows who I'm talking about. Of course, those initials belong to none other than Colby Covington. It's no secret that Jones and Covington, who were once training partners at Jackson Wink MMA, have had a falling out that turned personal. Their feud has become so intense that Jones has reportedly refused to fight on the same pay-per-view card as Covington. It's personal, and now public. But Covington wasn't the only target of Jones's recent wrath. Heavyweight interim champ Tom Aspinall also found himself on the receiving end. Recently, Aspinall teamed up with jiu-jitsu star Craig Jones to film a playful video poking fun at Jon. While it was clearly intended to be lighthearted, Jon Jones didn't take it that way. Instead of a direct response, Jones posted a cryptic message on social media, "Rent-free," accompanied by a coconut emoji and a palm tree. Fans were quick to connect the dots, assuming it was a jab at Aspinall, implying that Tom is thinking about Jones way more than the other way around. In the same podcast, Jon got vulnerable about the mental and emotional toll of his career. He spoke about the immense pressure he puts on himself to remain undefeated. "For me, I'm so connected to winning. It might not even be healthy," he admitted. "I see other fighters lose, smile, hug their wives, and say, 'Better luck luck next time. But if I lose, I'd be devastated. I'd be angry and depressed. That's just who I am. Either do it at the highest level or don't do it at all. That relentless mindset is a big part of why Jones remains undefeated in the eyes of many. But with time ticking and his return uncertain, fans are left wondering, will we ever see Jon Jones versus Tom Aspinall? If Jones doesn't make a comeback soon, the UFC may have no choice but to strip him of the heavyweight title. And if that happens, the heavyweight division could take on an entirely new direction, one without its most dominant champion. Next story, Wes Buckley sends a warning to welterweights about Islam Makhachev. Islam Makhachev is widely considered one of the most dominant fighters in the UFC today, reigning as the lightweight champion and pound for pound #1. But now, rumors are swirling about his potential move up to the welterweight division, and not everyone sees that as a threat. One person who does see it as a serious problem for the 170-pound division is none other than Wes Buckley. In a recent interview with Inside Fighting, Buckley didn't hold back when asked about Islam's chances in the welterweight ranks. Despite the potential size disadvantage, Buckley believes that Makhachev's elite grappling, high fight IQ, and ever-improving striking will make him a nightmare for many of the current contenders at 170 pounds. Compared to some of the current welterweights, he matches up very well, Buckley said. His grappling and submission game are elite, and he's confident enough on the feet to cause real problems. I think he'll do just fine. Makhachev's potential welterweight debut could come against top contender Jack Della Maddalena, a striking specialist with a growing fan base and a reputation for exciting finishes. The rumored title fight between the two has yet to be confirmed, but it has already stirred the division. While Della Maddalena would have the edge in pure striking, Buckley warned that Islam's ground game could be a deciding factor. Islam doesn't need to outbox you, he just needs to get close. And when he does, good luck, Buckley said. A lot of these guys haven't faced someone with that level of control and pressure. While Buckley is keeping a close eye on that possible clash, his own career is at a pivotal moment. He's currently preparing for one of the biggest fights of his life, a showdown with former welterweight champion Kamaru Usman at UFC Fight Night in Atlanta. A win over Usman, even as the former champ navigates a rough patch in his career, would be massive for Buckley and could position him for a title shot. Usman is a legend, no doubt, but I'm not here to admire legends, I'm here to become one, Buckley said. If I get that win in Atlanta, you better believe I'm coming for whoever has that belt. Whether it's Islam or Jack, I want next. It's clear that Buckley is not only confident in his own skills, but also respectful of what Makhachev brings to the table. However, his message is loud and clear. The welterweight division needs to wake up. Whether it's Islam Makhachev moving up or Buckley rising through the ranks, major shifts are coming to 170 pounds, and the contenders better be ready. Let's move on to the next headline. Dana White hit with a new UFC lawsuit. The UFC is once again under legal fire, this time from former light heavyweight contender Phil Davis, who has filed a fresh antitrust lawsuit against the organization. The central claim that the UFC's contract structure and business practices unlawfully suppress competition in the world of mixed martial arts. According to the lawsuit filed in a federal court, the UFC has been using restrictive and predatory contract clauses that limit a fighter's ability to seek better opportunities elsewhere. These include long-term agreements, mandatory arbitration clauses, and class action waivers, provisions that make it incredibly difficult for fighters to challenge the organization or explore deals with competing promotions like Bellator, PFL, or One Championship. Rather than seeking financial compensation, Phil Davis and his legal team are aiming for something bigger: structural change within the UFC's contractual system. The lawsuit specifically proposes a one-year termination clause, meaning a fighter could walk away from their UFC contract after 1 year without penalty, giving them true freedom to negotiate and compete in other promotions. Eric Kramer, the lead attorney representing Davis, did not mince words in his public statement. "We intend to prove that the UFC engaged in a predatory scheme to undermine would-be competitors and maintain their dominance. This behavior has harmed not only UFC fighters, but also those competing in other promotions." Kramer emphasized that the UFC's grip on fighter contracts has not only kept wages artificially low, but also stifled the broader growth of the MMA industry. By locking athletes into controlling deals, the UFC effectively chokes out competition and prevents other promotions from developing comparable talent pools. Phil Davis, who spent time fighting for both the UFC and Bellator, expressed his motivations for taking legal action. "I'm proud to stand up for fighters and help unlock the UFC's stranglehold on this sport. We deserve contracts that respect our careers, our choices, and our value as athletes. This isn't the first time the UFC has been challenged in court over its business practices. In fact, this lawsuit builds on the momentum of a landmark class action suit that resulted in a $375 million settlement awarded to over 1,100 former UFC fighters. That case exposed how the promotion used its market power to limit wages and manipulate the MMA labor market over a span of more than a decade. Now, with Phil Davis taking the fight to court once again, the conversation around fighter pay, career freedom, and fair treatment in MMA is far from over. If successful, this lawsuit could mark a major turning point in the sport's future, forcing the UFC to loosen its grip and opening the door for a more balanced, competitive landscape. One thing is certain, the world of MMA is watching closely, and Dana White's UFC could soon face a major shakeup. On to the next story. Jon Jones takes more subtle shots at Islam Makhachev again. In yet another episode of the Deep Cut podcast with Vic Blends, Jon Jones once again stirred the pot, this time by making what fans are calling a subtle jab at Islam Makhachev. During a word association segment, Jones was asked to share his quick thoughts on several fighters. When legends like George St. Pierre, GSP, and Anderson Silva were brought up, Jones didn't hesitate to show respect, praising their accomplishments and contributions to the sport. But when the name Islam Makhachev came up, the tone changed. "What's it called when someone's brought up by someone else?" Jones said, pausing slightly before adding, "He's a prodigy. Yeah, he's Khabib's prodigy." That was all he said. No acknowledgement of Makhachev's skills, championship reign, or pound-for-pound status. And for many fans, that was all they needed to hear. The implication seemed clear. Islam's success is more about Khabib Nurmagomedov's mentorship than his own merit. It wasn't an outright insult, but it was unmistakably Jon Jones. The way he framed his response was seen as a calculated backhand, designed to undermine Makhachev's individual accomplishments without being overtly disrespectful. It was the type of subtle dig that Jones has mastered over the years, one that fans and fighters alike are sure to dissect. This isn't the first time Jones has taken thinly veiled shots at Islam. As Makhachev's dominance continues to grow in the lightweight division and talk of a move to welterweight heats up, it's clear that Jon isn't ready to pass the torch or even acknowledge Makhachev as a peer. Still, Jones did leave the door open for a potential conversation between the two. "I want to interview Islam one day. I want him in this chair," Jones said, referring to the podcast setup. While some took this as a sign of mutual respect or curiosity, others saw it as just another mind game. Jon's way of asserting dominance by placing himself in the interviewer's seat. Whether it's genuine interest or a subtle power play, the tension between Jon Jones and Islam Makhachev is growing. Both are champions in their own right. Both are considered among the best fighters in the world. But it seems that Jon Jones, who has long considered himself the greatest of all time, isn't quite ready to embrace Makhachev as the sport's new face. As for Jones's own future, he remained vague but philosophical. "I don't know what life holds. I feel like I'll always be a martial artist. Whether it's coaching, exhibitions, or something else, there's still competition in me." One thing is certain, Jon Jones may not be fighting inside the cage right now, but he's still playing the mental game outside of it, and he's still very much the center of attention. And finally, Paddy Pimblett gets heated with Arman Tsarukyan. It looks like there's no love lost between Paddy the Baddy Pimblett and Arman Tsarukyan, and things are starting to heat up. In a recent interview with BBC Sport, Paddy made it clear that he has big plans for his next fight, and Arman Tsarukyan isn't part of them. Instead, Paddy has his sights set on a marquee name, Justin Gaethje. "I'm hoping to fight in Abu Dhabi this October," Pimblett said. "I'd love to fight Ilia Topuria, but he's already booked, so I think it's more likely I'll face Justin Gaethje." That potential matchup would be massive. Gaethje is one of the most violent, exciting fighters in UFC history, and Paddy, with his huge fan base and explosive fighting style, sees that as the kind of opponent who can take his career to the next level. But when asked about the possibility of facing Arman Tsarukyan, Paddy didn't hold back. His response was blunt and dismissive. "No one cares about Arman Tsarukyan. People want to watch me fight Gaethje. They know that'd be exciting. Tsarukyan is just a tool." Ouch. Paddy's comments are likely to ignite tensions with Arman, who is currently surging in the lightweight division. Tsarukyan recently defeated Charles Oliveira in a close, high-stakes matchup and is now seen as a top contender, possibly one fight away from a title shot himself. Many fans and analysts see Arman as a dark horse to become champion, thanks to his elite wrestling, cardio, and evolving striking. But Pimblett doesn't seem impressed. He's made it clear that he's not interested in matchups that don't move the needle or bring in eyeballs. In his eyes, Gaethje offers the right mix of name value, stylistic excitement, and high stakes. Paddy also believes that a win over Gaethje could put him just one fight away from a UFC title shot, a goal he's openly chasing. From a business perspective, it makes sense. Pimblett is one of the most marketable fighters on the roster, but many believe he still has something to prove inside the octagon before jumping into the top 5. Critics argue that dismissing Tsarukyan, arguably one of the most dangerous lightweights on the planet, isn't just disrespectful, it's strategically dodging real competition. Whether that's fair or not, the beef is now public, and the tension between the two rising stars could lead to fireworks down the road. Will the UFC give Paddy the Gaethje fight he wants? Or will he eventually be forced to face Arman Tsarukyan, whether he likes it or not? Time will tell. What do you think about this story? Should Paddy fight Arman? Is he chasing stardom over substance? And will a Gaethje versus Pimblett clash actually happen? Let us know your thoughts in the comments. And if you want daily MMA news, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on those notifications so you never miss a headline.